When the galaxy saw humans as apex predators masquerading as diplomats. Part 2. 6 months passed since humanity joined the Galactic Assembly as observers. In that short time, they had accomplished what took most species decades. They understood the complex web of politics, trade routes, and ancient alliances that held the galaxy together. They moved through it all with unsettling ease. Dr. Minho arrived on Station Meridian to work with the Xenobiology department. He seemed scattered, always forgetting where he put his data pad, making jokes at inappropriate times. The other scientists found him charming if a bit careless. They welcomed him into their research groups. Within 3 weeks, he had revolutionized their understanding of extreme environment biology. His papers explained how life could thrive in conditions they had considered impossible. When asked how he knew so much, he smiled. "Oh, these environments are not so extreme. On Earth, people vacation in places like this. We swim in acidic waters for our health. We climb mountains where the air is thin. We explore caves filled with toxic gases wearing just simple masks." The scientist checked his data. He was not lying. Earth truly was that hostile, and humans truly considered its most dangerous places to be recreation spots. What did that say about human durability? Lieutenant Bora attended military exchanges with the Assembly's finest warriors. Each species proudly demonstrated their combat techniques, their weapons, their tactics. She watched with respectful interest, asking questions that seemed almost naive. "Why do you always strike from above?" she asked one group of aerial fighters. "Our wings give us advantage," they explained proudly. "But what if your enemy expects that?" She smiled. "On Earth we have birds of prey. They hunt from above, so ground animals learn to watch the sky. The successful predators adapted." She demonstrated a human martial art one day when pressed. 3 of the Assembly's best warriors ended up on the ground in under a minute. She had moved with controlled precision, striking weak points they did not know they had. She helped them up with apologetic courtesy. "Sorry, reflexes. We train from childhood." The warriors compared notes afterward. Her movements were not flashy or ceremonial. They were pure efficiency, every motion designed to disable or kill, no wasted energy, no unnecessary flourish. The combat style of a species that fought to survive, not for sport. Ambassador Hyun continued his diplomatic work with remarkable success. Trade agreements that normally took years to negotiate closed in weeks. He seemed to know what each party wanted before they stated it. His understanding of alien psychology was perfect. Too perfect. Trade Minister Quolix met with him to discuss shipping lane access. The negotiation should have been difficult. Humanity wanted favorable terms. The Assembly normally made new species wait decades for such privileges. Yet within 2 hours they had an agreement. Quolix felt satisfied with the deal. Only later did he realize that humanity had gotten everything they wanted, and he had gotten only what they were willing to give. Somehow Hyun had made him feel good about it. Diplomat Yuna had become beloved in Assembly social circles. She attended every important gathering, remembered every personal detail, connected with delegates on an emotional level. Information flowed through her like a river. She knew who was feuding with whom, which species had hidden alliances, where the real power lay beneath the official hierarchy. Other diplomats confided in her. She was warm, trustworthy, understanding. They did not realize that every word they spoke went into her perfect memory. She was not gathering friends. She was gathering intelligence. Security Officer Tay worked with station security to improve safety protocols. He was friendly and helpful, pointing out vulnerabilities in their systems with casual observation. "Your camera has a blind spot there," he would mention. "Someone could slip through, they fixed it." He found another flaw, and another. Within months, station security had improved dramatically because of his suggestions. What they did not realize was that he had first identified every weakness, mapped every secret passage, learned every security code. He knew the station better than people who had worked there for years. Then came the incident in the lower levels. A criminal had been evading station security for 3 months. He belonged to a species known for speed and stealth. He stole from wealthy delegates, vanishing before anyone could catch him. Security had nearly given up. Tay volunteered to help. He studied the crime patterns for 1 day, then went hunting. The chase lasted 7 hours. The criminal ran through the station's maintenance tunnels, climbing vertical shafts, squeezing through narrow gaps. He used every advantage his species possessed. He was fast, agile, clever. Tay just followed. Not running, just walking. Never faster, never slower. Steady as a machine, the criminal doubled back, hid in sealed containers, tried every trick. Tay always found him, always resumed the pursuit. Never angry, never rushed, just inevitable. After 7 hours, the criminal collapsed from exhaustion. Tay was barely breathing hard. He helped the criminal to his feet almost gently and brought him to security. "How did you do that?" the security chief asked. "Persistence hunting," Tay explained. "Old human technique. We are not the fastest species, but we can keep going longer than anything else. Our ancestors hunted by following prey for days until it could not run anymore. It is in our biology." The security chief felt something cold in his stomach. That was not skill. That was nature. Humans were built to pursue until their target had no escape. A crisis struck the station when life support failed in the research wing. Toxic gases leaked. Temperature controls broke. The environment became deadly. Most species had maybe 2 hours before their biology failed. Engineers tried to reach the damaged systems but could not survive long enough to make repairs. The research wing would have to be abandoned. Decades of work would be lost. Dr. Minho and 3 other humans volunteered to go in. "We can handle it," Minho said. "Just for a little while." They went in wearing minimal protective gear. The environment that should have killed them in minutes became merely uncomfortable. They worked for 7 hours straight. Temperature swings that would have cooked most species just made them sweat. Toxic gases that would have dissolved alien lungs made them cough but kept working. When they finally emerged, medical staff scanned them frantically. The humans were exhausted but functional. Dehydrated, some minor chemical burns, nothing serious. "That should have killed you," the head doctor said. "It was like a bad hiking trip," Minho joked. "We have done worse for fun." The medical reports went to the Assembly's Health Council. Human durability was not just surprising, it was terrifying. They could survive conditions that killed everything else. Their bodies were designed for a world trying to murder them, and they had adapted so well they considered it normal. Ambassador Tilrex continued gathering evidence. His report to the council had been dismissed as paranoia, so he collected more data. He interviewed people who had worked with humans. He studied footage. He compiled patterns. Humans always positioned themselves near exits. Always. In every meeting, every social gathering, every ship they boarded. They mapped escape routes instinctively. They tracked movement with their eyes, following people across rooms, noting when someone entered or left. Their forward-facing eyes, designed for hunting, never stopped hunting even in peaceful settings. Their smiles showed teeth. Most species recognized this as a threat display in nature. But humans did it when being friendly. Were they unaware? Or was it a subtle reminder of what they were? They requested detailed information about every species they met: biology, culture, history, weakness. They claimed it was for better understanding. But what predator did not study its prey? They slept less than any species should function with. 4 to 6 hours, sometimes less. They could push themselves beyond normal limits and keep going. Because giving up meant death on Earth, so they evolved to never give up. Tilrex presented his findings to a small group of trusted colleagues. He laid out the evidence piece by piece. They are apex predators, he concluded, top of their food chain. They evolved to hunt, and they are very good at it. Everything they do has the pattern of predators gathering information on prey. One of the counselors, an herbivore species, shook his head. "You are seeing patterns that do not exist. Humans are helpful, cooperative. They have shown no aggression." "That is what makes them dangerous," Tilrex insisted. "A predator that announces itself is stupid. A predator that makes prey feel safe is deadly. They are not hiding their nature. We are just refusing to see it." The council remained unconvinced. Humans had done nothing wrong. They were model members of the assembly. This paranoia helped nobody. Tilrex left the meeting frustrated. He knew what he saw. He recognized the signs because his own species had once been apex predators before civilization. He knew the patterns because he shared them, but no one would listen. They saw the diplomatic smiles and missed the calculating eyes behind them. They heard the friendly words and missed the threat assessment happening constantly. Then the message came from deep space. A human exploration vessel had found something. An abandoned planet, evidence of a dead civilization. They requested permission to investigate. The assembly approved the mission. Archaeological work was peaceful, educational. No threat there. When the galaxy saw humans as apex predators masquerading as diplomats, Part 1, the diplomatic hall stretched wide enough to hold ships. Station Meridian floated in the empty space between stars, a neutral ground where 47 different species came to talk instead of fight. Today the hall buzzed with curious noise. Everyone wanted to see the newcomers. Humans had arrived. Ambassador Hyun walked through the massive doors with 3 others behind him. He wore simple dark clothes that seemed formal without being fancy. His hair showed gray at the sides. His face held a calm smile that never quite faded. Behind him came Captain Jiwon, a woman whose military uniform fit perfectly. Her eyes swept the room once, taking in everything. Security Officer Tae followed, young and relaxed, hands in his pockets. Last came Diplomat Yuna, whose warm expression made several aliens nod in greeting. High Chancellor Vreth watched them approach from his raised platform. His insect body clicked and shifted. His compound eyes caught every detail. These mammals looked soft. No scales, no armor, no claws. Their skin seemed thin and easily torn. They breathed standard oxygen like most civilized species. Nothing special. "Welcome to the Galactic Assembly," Vreth's translator device spoke. "You come from far away." "From Earth, yes?" "We do," Hyun replied. His voice carried easily through the huge space. "We come in peace and friendship. We hope to join your assembly and learn from your wisdom." Several delegates made amused sounds. "Join? Already?" New species usually spent 100 years being watched and tested. These humans seemed eager. Naive, perhaps. Trade Minister Quolix, whose amphibious body glistened with moisture, leaned forward. "Your planet is marked as a death world in our charts. High gravity, extreme temperatures, dangerous microbial life. How did your species survive such a place?" Yuna stepped forward with a gentle smile. "We adapted, learned, grew stronger together. Earth taught us to be resourceful." "Resourceful," repeated Ambassador Tilrex, a reptilian whose scales showed scars from many battles. His warrior culture respected strength. These humans showed none, yet something in their eyes made him uneasy. He could not name what. The presentation began. Hyun spoke about human culture, sharing images of art and music. Yuna distributed gifts, small items that showed craftsmanship. The aliens accepted them with polite interest. Throughout it all, Captain Jiwon stood perfectly still, her weight balanced on both feet, never leaning, never slouching. Tae seemed to be daydreaming, but his eyes never stopped moving. "We request full membership," Hyun concluded. "We understand this is unusual, but humanity has much to offer." The chamber erupted in discussion. "Full membership? Immediately? Impossible. Unprecedented, amusing." Chancellor Vreth raised a limb for silence. "We appreciate your enthusiasm. We offer observer status for now. In time, perhaps more. This is our way." "We accept with gratitude," Hyun bowed slightly. Too perfect. Too measured. Several delegates felt their skin prickle, though they did not know why. That evening, the assembly held a cultural dinner. Long tables stretched across a garden dome where plants from a dozen worlds grew under artificial light. Delegates mingled, ate, and talked politics in the way politicians always did. The humans spread out naturally. Yuna found herself surrounded by curious aliens asking about Earth. She answered every question with patience, laughing at the right moments, making others feel heard. She remembered everyone's names, every detail they mentioned. Her mind filed it all away like a computer. Tae leaned against a wall near the exit, sipping a drink. His posture screamed casual. Bored even, but his eyes tracked every person who entered or left. He noted which species carried weapons, which doors led where, which guards looked alert and which looked lazy. He built a complete tactical map in his head without seeming to pay attention at all. Captain Jiwon spoke with military attachés from other species. They compared stories about ship operations and crew management. She listened more than she talked. Every piece of information about their ships, their weapons, their doctrine, she absorbed and catalogued. Hyun moved through the crowd like water, smooth and inevitable. He spoke with high-ranking officials, reading their body language with perfect accuracy. When Trade Minister Quolix shifted his weight, Hyun knew the minister was uncomfortable with the topic. When Chancellor Vreth's antennae twitched, Hyun understood the insect was intrigued. He played them like instruments, never obvious, always gentle. Then the violence started. Two delegates from different species began arguing near the center of the room. Their voices rose. Old territorial disputes, ancient grudges. One of them, a large crystalline being, suddenly struck the other with a massive limb. The victim, a smaller mammalian alien, crashed into a table. Food and dishes scattered. Everyone froze. Security guards began moving from the walls, but they were far away. The crystalline delegate raised his limb again for another strike. Captain G1 crossed 15 meters in 3 seconds. She moved without seeming to hurry. One moment she was across the room, the next she stood between the attacker and his victim. Her hands caught the crystalline limb mid-swing. She redirected the force smoothly, using the attacker's momentum against him. He found himself face down on the floor, her knee on his back, his limb twisted at an angle that caused pain but no damage. The other delegate she stopped with just a look and a raised hand. "He froze, gentlemen," she said quietly. "This is not the place." Security arrived 10 seconds later. G1 released the crystalline delegate smoothly, helping him up with professional courtesy. No anger showed on her face. No excitement. She might have been picking up dropped dishes. She walked back to her previous position and continued her interrupted conversation as if nothing had happened. The other humans had not moved. They had simply watched, calculating, waiting to see if G1 needed help. She had not. The party continued with nervous energy. Delegates could not stop glancing at G1, at the humans. Something felt wrong. These soft creatures were not what they seemed. Later that night, Ambassador Tilrex sat in his quarters reviewing security footage. His warrior instincts screamed warnings his mind could not articulate. He watched G1's intervention frame by frame. There, in one frame before she controlled the attacker, her body had shifted. For a fraction of a second, her stance changed. Her hand had moved toward the crystalline being's throat. The most vulnerable point on that species' body. A strike there would have killed instantly, but she had not struck. She had chosen control over killing, which meant she knew how to kill. Precisely. Efficiently. Tilrex pulled up Earth's files. The medical data showed a death world. He began reading deeper. Evolutionary history, predator-prey dynamics, the fact that humans came from a world where nearly everything was designed to kill them, and they had survived by being better at killing than anything else. His scales rippled with unease. Forward-facing eyes, he noted, binocular vision, depth perception for tracking prey, persistence physiology. Humans could run for hours without stopping. Their ancestors hunted by following animals until those animals collapsed from exhaustion. Humans were not the weak, soft species they appeared to be. They were apex predators, at the top of their food chain through pure hunting skill. And now they were here, in the assembly, surrounded by species who had never faced a true predator. Tilrex began writing a report. His hands shook slightly, not from fear, but from the recognition one warrior gives another. The humans were dangerous, extremely dangerous, and they had not shown even a fraction of their true capability. He looked up at his ceiling, thinking of G1's casual competence, of Ty's constant awareness, of Hyun's perfect manipulation of social dynamics, of Yuna's flawless memory. These were not ambassadors who happened to be human. These were humans pretending to be ambassadors, predators wearing the mask of diplomats. The question was why? What did they want? And what would happen when the galaxy realized what they truly were? Tilrex saved his report and prepared to present it to the council. They needed to know. They needed to understand, but would they listen? Would they see what he saw? Or would they remain blind until it was too late? When the galaxy saw humans as apex predators, masquerading as diplomats, Part 3 Commander Doyun brought his exploration ship into orbit around Kethros Prime. The planet looked peaceful from space. Cities stood intact. Infrastructure showed no damage, but not a single life sign registered on their scanners. The entire civilization had simply vanished. Researcher Hana led the landing team. She was a specialist in dead civilizations, though she had never found one quite like this. No signs of war, no plague indicators, no natural disasters, just empty buildings and silence. They split up to investigate different sections of the main city. Ensign Junho stayed with the shuttle, monitoring communications. His young face showed unease at the abandoned streets visible through the window. "It is like everyone just disappeared mid-task," he reported. Food still on tables. Vehicles stopped in streets. Nothing violent. Just gone. Hana found the central archive building and began accessing data files. The Cathrosians had been an advanced species. Peaceful, philosophical. They loved art and science. They had been excited when they detected another spacefaring species approaching their system. The Vrex had arrived 60 years ago. Hana's hands moved faster through the files. She found first contact records. The Vrex were large, powerful beings from a high-gravity world. They seemed interested in cultural exchange. The Cathrosians welcomed them with open arms. The Vrex stayed for 20 years. They learned the language, studied Cathrosian biology and culture, mapped their cities, counted their population, asked endless questions. The Cathrosians thought they were making friends. Hana found video files from the final days. She watched with growing horror. The Vrex had struck without warning. Every Vrex visitor and diplomat attacked simultaneously on the same night. The Cathrosians never had a chance. They were herbivores, peaceful by nature. They had no weapons, no training, no understanding of coordinated violence. The Vrex harvested them. The word made Hana's stomach turn. Not killed, harvested like crops, like prey animals. The Vrex took the entire population and vanished into deep space. The last video showed a dying Cathrosian scientist recording a message. His voice was weak but determined. If anyone finds this, please understand what happened here. We thought they were friends. We never saw the predators behind the friendly words. They studied us like we were animals. We told them everything about ourselves. We made ourselves easy prey. If you find this warning, remember, some species are hunters wearing masks. Trust must be earned, not given freely. Verify everything. Question everything. Do not make our mistake. The video ended. Hana sat in the dark archive for a long moment. She thought about the past 6 months, about how humans had integrated into the assembly, about the information they had gathered, about the patterns they had established. She called Commander Doyen. Sir, you need to see this. The crew gathered on the ship to watch the archive footage. They saw the Cathrosians welcoming the Vrex. They saw the slow gathering of information. They saw the sudden violence, the methodical extermination. Nobody spoke for a long time after the footage ended. We look like them, Ensign Junho said quietly. The Vrex, we are doing the same things. Gathering information, learning about everyone, positioning ourselves strategically. We are not the Vrex, Doyen said firmly, but his voice held doubt. The galaxy does not know that, Hana replied. To them, we might look exactly like another predator species preparing to strike. Back on Station Meridian, tensions rose between humanity and the Nulvec Consortium. A trade dispute had escalated. The Nulvec controlled several important resource planets. They decided to intimidate the newcomers into backing down. Nulvec warships massed near human space. 20 heavy cruisers. A show of force. The Nulvec expected humanity to withdraw their claims. Humans were peaceful. They had shown no military aggression. They would bend. Lieutenant Bora requested a meeting with the Nulvec war leader. She came alone to the Nulvec flagship. The war leader, a massive being with armored skin, looked down at her with amusement. You want to negotiate? He rumbled. Your little colony worlds are not worth fighting over. Withdraw your people. We will forget this happened. Bora pulled up a display screen. Before you decide on war, I want to show you something. Human history. So you understand what you would be facing. The war leader laughed. Your history? What could primitives from a death world teach us about war? Bora started the footage. World War II. Millions of humans fighting across entire continents. The war leader's laughter died. The scale was incomprehensible. The casualties were beyond anything he had seen. She showed them Vietnam. Humans fighting in jungles that killed most species, fighting for years. Never stopping, she showed them the siege of Stalingrad. A single city. Millions of casualties. Months of fighting in winter conditions that should have ended the battle. But humans kept fighting. They ate rats to survive. They fought over single buildings for weeks. They refused to surrender. She showed them footage of human soldiers fighting in deserts and Arctic zones and chemical weapon zones. Fighting wounded, fighting outnumbered, fighting when any rational species would have surrendered. Then she showed them the weapons. Chemical warfare. Biological warfare. Nuclear bombs that could crack planets. This is what we did to each other, Bora said quietly. When we were divided into nations. When we fought among ourselves, we killed hundreds of millions of our own species and kept going. We created weapons that could destroy our entire world. We nearly used them several times. The Nulvec war leader had stopped moving. His breathing had changed. Now imagine, Bora continued, what we could do if we were unified, if we had a common enemy, if we decided that we needed to fight. We came to the stars hoping for peace. We choose peace every day. But we brought the capacity for total war with us, just in case peace was not an option. She closed the display. You have 20 warships. We have 3 small defense platforms near our colonies. If you attack, you will win. You will take our colonies. But we will not forget. And eventually humanity will respond with everything we have. We do not fight for honor or territory. We fight to survive, and we are very good at surviving. She stood to leave. I hope you choose peace. Because war with humanity is not something anyone wants, not even us. The Nulvec withdrew their ships within 6 hours. The trade dispute was settled on human terms the next day. Word spread through the assembly. Humanity had shown its teeth without striking a blow. Panic began to build. Species reviewed the footage Bora had shared. They researched Earth's history in detail. What they found terrified them. Humans were not just predators. They were the most successful predators their world had ever produced. They had hunted megafauna to extinction. They had domesticated wolves, turning apex predators into pets. They had made the ocean's largest creatures afraid of them. An emergency assembly session was called. The question on everyone's mind, what are humans? Ambassador Hyun addressed the gathered delegates. He did not smile. He did not use his usual diplomatic charm. He spoke plainly. You are afraid, he said. You have realized what we are. Yes, we are predators. Yes, we come from a death world. Yes, we evolved to hunt and kill. But you are looking at only half of the picture. He pulled up images of Earth, not war footage, but something different. Humans rescuing beached whales. Humans caring for disabled children. Humans rushing into burning buildings to save strangers. Humans donating organs to people they had never met. We are also capable of great compassion. We evolved in tribes where helping each other meant survival, where abandoning the weak meant the tribe died. We learned to cooperate because alone we are weak, but together we are unstoppable. He showed them human art, human music, human literature, stories of redemption and sacrifice, paintings of beauty, songs of hope. We are predators who chose civilization. We have the capacity for violence, but we also have the capacity to choose peace. Both are in our nature. Both are real. We came to you showing both sides. You only saw what you wanted to see. The assembly erupted in debate. Some species demanded human expulsion. Others argued for military alliance. Many simply wanted time to process what they had learned. Then the alarm sounded. A distress signal from the outer rim. Colony under attack. The message was fragmentary but clear enough. Large ships, massive beings, coordinated assault, harvesting population. The description matched the Vrexted. The assembly's military forces were hours away. They scrambled to respond, but it would be too late. The colony would be gone before help arrived. A human ship was in the area. Captain Ji-won's vessel, the Indomitable. She sent a message requesting permission to engage. The assembly chamber went silent. They were about to see what humans actually were when they stopped pretending to be diplomats. When the apex predators took off their masks, Chancellor Vreth gave permission. What choice did he have? A colony was dying. The chamber's main display showed the battle feed from the colony. The Vrex were already landing. 3 massive ships. The beings themselves were nightmares made flesh. 3 meters tall, armored. Multiple limbs designed for tearing and rending. They moved through the colony with practiced efficiency. Then the Indomitable arrived. A single human ship against 3 Vrex cruisers. The size difference was laughable. The power difference should have been insurmountable. The Indomitable attacked. When the galaxy saw humans as apex predators masquerading as diplomats, Part 4, the Indomitable moved like a living predator. Captain Ji-won stood on the bridge, her face completely calm. Around her, the crew worked with practiced efficiency. No panic, no wasted motion. They had trained for this. Target the lead ship's engine section, she ordered. Weapons free. The human ship was smaller than any of the Vrex vessels. But size did not matter when you knew exactly where to strike. Weapons specialist Bora had studied the Vrex ship designs from the Kethros archives. She knew every weakness. The first salvo hit the Vrex cruiser's engine core with perfect precision. The massive ship shuddered. Its shields had been positioned to protect against frontal assault. Humans attacked from an angle no one expected. "They are turning to engage," Tactical Officer Tay reported. His voice held no stress. He might have been reporting the weather. "Let them," Jiwon replied. Jonho patterned Delta 7. Ensign Jonho's hands flew across the pilot controls. The Indomitable twisted through space in ways that should have torn it apart. The ship pulled G-forces that would kill most species. The human crew endured because they had evolved on a high-gravity world. This was uncomfortable, but they had trained in worse. The wreck ships fired. Massive energy weapons designed to destroy entire vessels. The Indomitable was already somewhere else. Hunyo did not fly the ship. He hunted with it. Every movement calculated to keep them in the Vrek's blind spots. On the colony below, the Vrek's ground forces continued their harvest. They had done this 1,000 times before. They expected no resistance. The colonists were a peaceful agricultural species. Easy prey. Then the humans landed. Colonist leader Suji had been a teacher before coming to this world. She taught children about literature and art, but she was human, and humans did not need to be soldiers to know how to survive. "Seal the school building," she ordered. "Use the emergency supplies to fortify the windows. The children stay in the center rooms away from outside walls." The other colonists moved with calm purpose. Fear was there, but it did not control them. They had practiced emergency drills. They knew what to do. A Vrek's boarding party approached the school. 10 of them. Each one was 3 meters tall, armored naturally, armed with weapons designed to subdue populations. They had taken thousands of buildings just like this. They tried to breach the main door. It had been reinforced with equipment from the maintenance shed. They tried the windows, barricaded. They began cutting through the wall. Suji and 3 other colonists waited inside with tools that were not weapons, but could be used as such. Agricultural equipment, construction tools, things designed for building, now positioned for defense. The Vreks broke through. The lead one stepped into a corridor that had been turned into a kill zone. The floor was slippery with lubricant. Support beams had been weakened to collapse. The ceiling's fire suppression system was ready to activate. The Vreks advanced, confident. They had mass and armor and weapons. The humans had preparation and creativity and 1,000,000 years of evolution telling them how to turn any environment into a death trap for their enemies. 10 Vreks entered. 3 made it back out, wounded, confused. How had soft, weak civilians done that? Back in space, the battle continued. The Vreks had superior numbers and firepower, but they fought with brute force. Overwhelming power applied directly. Humans fought with precision. They had studied war for thousands of years. They knew that strength without strategy was useless. They turned the Vrek size into a disadvantage. "Boarding pods launching from the enemy ship," Tay reported. "They want close combat." "Let them come," Jiwon said. "Bore event sections 7 through 12. Tay, prepare response teams." The Vrek's boarding pods breached the Indomitable's hull. Vrek's warriors poured in, confident in their physical superiority. They were bigger, stronger, better armed. This should be easy. They found corridors with no atmosphere, freezing cold, bulkheads collapsing behind them. The ship itself had become a weapon. Security Officer Tay led the response team. He moved through the ship like water, always where he needed to be. When he encountered Vrek's warriors, he did not try to match their strength. He used their size against them, struck weak points, used the environment, made them fight in spaces too small for their bulk. He killed 5 Vreks in under a minute. Efficient, precise, no wasted movement. The way an apex predator kills when its prey has no escape. The assembly watched the battle feed in horrified silence. They saw humans fighting with a level of coordinated violence they had never imagined. Every person knew their role. Every action had purpose. There was no chaos, no panic, just lethal efficiency. "They are not fighting," Ambassador Tilrek said quietly. "They are hunting. This is what they evolved to do." Chancellor Vreth could not look away from the display. "They have been hiding this the entire time." "No," Tilrek shook his head. "They have been showing us all along. We just did not want to see it." Ambassador Hyun stood in the assembly chamber watching the same feed. Other delegates looked at him with new eyes. Fear, horror, fascination. "You asked what we are," he said to the room. "We are the species that survived extinction events. Ice ages, volcanic winters, plagues that killed half our population multiple times. We are the species that looked at every other predator on our world and said, "I can beat that." And we did. He gestured at the screen showing the Indomitable tearing through Vrek's defenses. We hunted mammoths to extinction. We turned wolves into pets. We made sharks afraid to enter shallow water where humans swim. We are apex predators, but we are also capable of art and music and love and sacrifice. On the display, the Vrek's mothership arrived. It dwarfed every other vessel. A ship designed to harvest entire planets. Its weapons could crack moons. It moved toward the colony with inevitable momentum. The Indomitable was damaged, its crew exhausted. They had been fighting for hours. Any rational commander would withdraw. Jiwan looked at her crew. They looked back. No one spoke, but the communication was clear. They were human. They did not abandon people. Ever. "Set ramming course," she ordered. The bridge crew did not hesitate. They trusted her absolutely. Pack loyalty. Millions of years of evolution teaching them to trust their leader even into death. The Indomitable accelerated toward the massive Vrek's mothership. The crew braced for impact. They would die, but they would die protecting others. That was the human way. The Vrek ship tried to turn. Too slow, too massive. The Indomitable closed the distance. At the last moment, Jiwan smiled. "Bora, now." The ramming course had been a feint, a threat to make the Vrek ship maneuver exactly as she wanted. As it turned, it exposed its engine core, vulnerable, unshielded. Bora fired every weapon they had left. Point-blank range. Every shot hit the critical systems. The mothership tore itself apart from internal explosions. The remaining Vrek's vessels broke off and fled, not just from this battle, but broadcasting a warning across their entire territory. Avoid human space. They are apex predators. Do not engage. The Indomitable limped back to the colony. The crew was exhausted but alive. On the ground, colonists emerged from their fortified positions. Wounded, traumatized, but surviving. Suji stood among them holding a child who was crying. She looked up at the damaged human ship in orbit. They had won. They had survived. Because that was what humans did. They survived. The assembly chamber remained silent for a long time after the battle ended. They had witnessed something that changed their understanding of the galaxy. Humans were not diplomats pretending to be predators. They were predators who chose to be diplomats. That was far more dangerous. Ambassador Tilrek stood. "I am requesting a formal military alliance with humanity. Immediately." Several delegates protested. Alliance with predators? With beings who had just demonstrated such capacity for violence? "Exactly," Tilrek said. "I want them as allies because I never want to face them as enemies. We saw what one ship could do. Imagine 100. Imagine 1,000. Imagine humanity deciding we are prey." He looked around the chamber. "Or imagine them deciding we are pack. Humans protect their pack. Today they saved a colony that was not theirs. They could have fled. Instead they fought. Because they choose to be protectors. I want to be protected by the galaxy's apex predators, not threatened by them." The debate began. Would the galaxy accept humanity? Would they trust them? Would they live in fear or in alliance? But everyone knew one thing now. The masks had fallen. The galaxy had seen what humans truly were, and there was no going back. When the galaxy saw humans as apex predators, masquerading as diplomats Part 5 3 months after the battle at Therox Colony, the Galactic Assembly prepared for its most important vote in history. The chamber was packed. Every species sent representatives. The question was simple but had complex implications. Should humanity remain in the assembly? The debate had raged for weeks. Some species wanted humans expelled immediately. They argued that apex predators could not be trusted. Eventually they would turn on everyone. It was their nature. Others wanted full military alliance. They had seen what the Vreks could do. They had seen what humans could do to the Vreks. Having such power as enemies was suicide. Having it as allies was survival. Many were simply afraid. They had welcomed humans as friends. Now they realized they had invited predators into their homes. The trust was broken. Could it be repaired? Chancellor Vreth called the session to order. "Before we vote, Ambassador Hyun has requested to speak. The Assembly grants this request." Hyun walked to the center of the chamber. He did not look like a predator. He looked like a middle-aged man who was tired, The past months had worn on him. On all humans. Being seen as monsters was not what they had wanted. I will not apologize for what we are, he began. I will not pretend that humans are not predators. We are. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us in every possible way. We survived by being better hunters than anything else. That is truth. He gestured to Dr. Minho, who stood nearby. But let Dr. Minho explain what that actually means. Minho activated a biological display. It showed human anatomy in detail. Yes, we have forward-facing eyes for depth perception. Yes, we have persistence physiology for long chases. Yes, we can survive extreme conditions. But look at the rest of our evolution. He highlighted human hands. These are not claws. They are designed for tool-making, for building, for creating. Our greatest weapon is not our body but our brain. And our brain evolved for more than hunting. It evolved for cooperation. The display showed human social behavior, families caring for elderly members, strangers helping in disasters, people sacrificing themselves to save others. Humans are pack predators, Minho continued. Pack survival requires loyalty, empathy, communication, caring for the weak. We evolved violence, yes, but we also evolved compassion. Both are real. Both are natural to us. He showed footage from Earth, humans rescuing beached whales, humans creating art, humans caring for orphaned animals, humans building hospitals and schools. We are capable of choosing which part of our nature to express. We chose to reach for the stars in peace. That choice is as real as our capacity for violence. Captain Jiwan spoke next. She had become famous after Therox. Some called her a hero. Others called her terrifying. She was uncomfortable with both labels. You asked why I risked my crew for a colony that was not ours, she said. The question confuses me. They were people in danger. What else would we do? Let them die? That is not who we are. She looked around the chamber. Humans define their pack broadly. On Earth, we fought each other for millennia. Nation against nation. Tribe against tribe. But we also had a saying, I am human. Nothing human is alien to me. We recognized ourselves in each other, even across battle lines. She gestured at the assembled species. You are not human, but you are people. You think, you feel, you love your children. You mourn your dead. To us, that makes you pack. And humans protect their pack. Ambassador Tilrex stood to support them. I was the first to fear humanity. I spent months documenting how they could destroy us. Every weakness they could exploit. Every advantage they possessed. I was right to be cautious. Humans are dangerous, he paused. But I missed something important. Yes, they could have arrived with warships. They could have conquered instead of negotiated. They could have used their superior understanding of warfare to dominate us. They chose not to. That choice matters. A herbivore species delegate stood. How can we trust that they will keep choosing peace? What stops them from changing their minds? Nothing, Hyun answered honestly. Just like nothing stops any of you from declaring war. Peace is always a choice. Every species in this assembly has the capacity for violence. Some of you fought wars before joining. Some of you still have conflicts. The difference is that humans are honest about what we are. He looked directly at the herbivore delegate. Your species has defenses. Poison glands. Sharp horns. You evolved those to survive. You do not use them now because you choose civilization. We are the same. We have capacity for violence, but we choose civilization too. The debate continued for hours. Species argued their positions. Data was presented. Simulations run. But it came down to a fundamental question. Could predators and prey coexist in one society? Finally, the vote was called. Every species cast their decision. The chamber went silent as the results compiled. Chancellor Vreth stood. The vote is decided. Humanity will remain in the assembly with full membership status. The chamber erupted in mixed reactions. Relief, anger, fear, hope. Vreth raised a limb for silence. However, there is a condition. The assembly requests that humanity accept a new role. We ask you to be our shield. Hyun looked at his delegation. Ji-won, Minho, Bora, Tai, Yuna. All of them tired but determined. Explain, he said. The galaxy has many threats, Vreth continued. The Vrex are only one. There are others in the dark spaces between stars. Species that prey on the peaceful. Forces that cannot be reasoned with. We need someone who can face such threats. Someone who understands violence and knows how to use it. He looked at Hyun directly. We ask humanity to stand between us and the monsters. to be the predators who hunt predators, to protect those who cannot protect themselves. The weight of that request settled over the human delegation. They had come to the stars to explore, to learn, to grow. Now they were being asked to be the galaxy's warriors, the galaxy's shield, the apex predators who kept other apex predators at bay. Hyun thought about Earth, about humanity's long history of war and peace, about the choice every generation made between violence and compassion, about what they wanted their legacy to be. We accept, he said, on one condition. You stop seeing us as predators pretending to be civilized. We are both. Always both. And so are most of you if you are honest. Every species has capacity for violence and compassion. We are just more honest about having both. He looked around the chamber. Let us teach each other. You teach us your wisdom, your art, your philosophy. We will teach you what we learned from surviving a death world, how to endure, how to fight when necessary, how to protect what matters. The assembly accepted these terms. A new era began. Human military advisors spread across assembly space. They trained defense forces, not to make them into killers, but to make them capable of defending themselves. The training was hard but fair. Species learned that they were stronger than they thought. Human diplomats continued their work. But now they were honest about their methods. Yes, we read your body language, Una told other diplomats. Yes, we remember everything you tell us. This is not manipulation. This is how we communicate. Let us teach you to do the same. Human scientists shared their knowledge freely. How to survive hostile environments, how to push physical limits, how to adapt to changing conditions. Earth's harsh nature had taught humanity lessons that benefited everyone. Young Mayong represented the new generation. Born on a space station, he had never seen Earth, but he carried its legacy. He worked with young aliens from dozens of species. They built friendships that crossed evolutionary boundaries. My parents are apex predators, he told his alien friends. But that is just biology. It does not define who I am. Who I am is my choice. I choose to be your friend. I choose to build instead of destroy. That choice is the most human thing about me. The Vrex returned once more, testing the new order, seeing if the galaxy's alliance would hold. They attacked a trade convoy. They were met by a joint fleet. Humans led the tactical planning, but dozens of species fought alongside them. The battle was short. The Vrex were driven back permanently. They broadcast a new warning. This galaxy is protected. Years passed. Captain Jiwon retired from military service. She visited the memorial on Therox for those who had died in the attack. Ambassador Tilrex found her there. Do you regret it? He asked. The galaxy knows what you are now. Some will always fear you. Jiwon watched human and alien children playing together in the rebuilt colony. A human child helped an alien child who had fallen. Such a small moment. But it represented everything they had built. We are still predators, she said quietly. That will never change. It is in our genes, in our evolution. But predators can choose their targets. We hunt ignorance. We hunt injustice. We hunt tyranny. As long as we remember to choose carefully, being apex predators is not terrible. It just means we are the ones who can face the darkness so others do not have to. Tilrex nodded. The galaxy sleeps safer knowing human ships patrol the borders. That is worth more than peace of mind that comes from ignorance. Above them, ships from hundreds of worlds move through space, trading, exploring, living without fear, because somewhere out there human vessels watched for threats. The apex predators had become guardians. Ambassador Hyun recorded a final message to send to Earth. He stood in his quarters on Station Meridian, looking at the stars beyond the window.